D&D supports many different subgenres of fantasy. The adventure you're running can be dark fantasy, or sword and sorcery, or high fantasy. In the monster menu, beyond the good old orcs, you can find angelic creatures, fairies, or even body horror monsters. The selection of monsters is so diverse in D&D that we can use the monsters as indicators which subgenre you're running. I use this idea in my D&D supplement, the Baatezu in the details make believable dungeons. In one quest, the party might witness the foul feast of a troglodyte tribe. In another quest, a solar might descend from the heavens. So, choosing which monster appears in the quest will define the genre of your quest, or looking from the reverse, you should choose your monsters based on which subgenre you want to run. Celestial creatures inspire mythopoeia, that's quests resembling real myths. Fairies inspire folktale style quests, and when you use Sladi or Intellect Devourer, that will be a horror quest. So how can we run a quest where all these different kind of monsters can interact with each other, even though they should be belonging to different subgenres? The solution is that we will use the mark they leave on the setting, for example the physical clues that they leave behind. So let's categorize the monsters based on what kind of clues they leave behind. Biological creatures are the most realistic ones. Now, I am against running a fictional world like a simulation, because you won't be able to do it and the players won't even notice it. But you can emulate it. You can build the facades and pretend that it's real. This is how you should run biological creatures. They leave behind footprints, they shed their scales, their nests have eggshells in them, etc. There are two more somewhat realistic categories: the corporeal undead and the constructs. They are both still almost completely natural things, but they are helped by magic. And when you add magic to these realistic creatures, then you will lose some realistic clues, but you will also gain some weird side effects that the party can notice. Now, elementals are a bit different. You might think that, well, elementals are kind of realistic with some magic, but that's not really the case. Elementals are based on classical elements. So when you think of elemental fire, you shouldn't think about the chemical reaction. When you think of elemental water, you shouldn't think of H2O. You will need some abstraction for the classical elements. When you say elemental fire, then you should think about hot and dry. When you think about elemental water, you should think about wet and cold. These attributes instead of the actual physical substances or reactions. Think of celestials as characters from a legend or a myth. Only those events are told that have actually some kind of meaning. Now, if you're not willing to abstract on the narrative level because you want to run a fictional setting that has its own rules, its own physics, etc., then you can think of celestials as beings that are manifestations of ideals, which are willed into existence by gods and are powered by the faith of millions. They are noble, they are elevated, they are poetic, they lack mundaneness, they lack banality, they lack repulsiveness, and in the end they have a way more impact on the hearts and minds of the NPCs than the physical environment. The most useful thing about celestials is that they are the closest things to the gods of the fictional world, which means that their motivations are closely aligned to the dungeon master's motivations. So it's very easy to run them. You just project your own feelings and thoughts to them and make the decisions instead of them. The celestials can be a surrogate for the dungeon master. Fairies are an interesting category because they are just as abstract as celestials, except they are more mundane, they are more banal. But their mundaneness, their banality, is not because they are biological or because they need to be. It's in their nature, it's because they have to be relatable. Celestials intentionally help the players. Fairies accidentally help the players. Fiends are great for horror quests. They are disgusting, repulsive, etc. They can have all kinds of physical attributes like a bad smell or a disgusting outgrowth on their body, etc. But that's not because these are biological functions. It's because they have to be repulsive. They are just as abstract creatures as the celestials, except the intent is to make the players hate them or be disgusted by them, etc. If you want to know more what kind of clues the monsters should leave behind in your dungeon, check out my D&D supplement, the Baatezu in the Details, Make Believable Dungeons. Search Baatezu at the Dungeon Masters Guild or go to algi.hu/Baatezu, that's algi.hu/Baatezu.